Mark, what would you say are Nautilus International's biggest wins on behalf of members in 2025?
Okay, well, hi Helen, and what would I say the biggest wins for 2025 for our members? Well, another busy year. Industrially, I think our biggest wins have been pushing for inflation increases for members to put some real money back in members' pockets after some, periods of difficulties, COVID, cost of living crisis. That's really hit members, and we've been firm, adopting a very firm strategy industrially. I would say at this point, if I may, that our preferred way of working is always in partnership with employers. That is sort of our USP, or that's in our DNA, that we work with employers, those that employ our members, and that doesn't mean that we're a soft touch. It means we are, pragmatic and progressive in our industrial relations. But some employers can just push you too far, and we've seen a few of those over the past few years, and we've taken a robust stand for our members. RFA obviously springs to mind, and Steam Packet, and now we have, we're now adopting a robust approach towards the Lloyd's Register in the Netherlands. So that's I think it's really encouraging when the members back the union in that way and stand together. The solidarity is really, really important, and we want the best for our members. We want them to be, we want their employers to be thriving. Of course, it's an important aspect of our work, that we do want companies to be growing, and we want them to be able to provide the best terms and conditions and secure jobs for our members. But it cannot be at the cost of members' cost of living. So it's important, and there's been some really solid work being done by our industrial colleagues. So that's an important point. I think also the union's growing after a period of very challenging demographics. That's not an experience right across the union. The demographics in the Netherlands are still quite challenging. But in the UK, we've had, this is now being recorded in November, but we've had a full year of growth in our net membership figures, which is really good. We have the majority of members are now under 40 again, so we've got all the youth coming through into the union, which again is really encouraging. There's more to do, moving more determinedly into shore-based maritime professionals, and recruiting those shore-based maritime professionals is an increasingly important aspect of our organizing strategy. We've had a lot of growth in the large yacht sector, which has supported the union over the past few years. In some respects, that's been the only growth area, apart from retired members, because of the demographics. That's been an increasing aspect of our membership breakdown. So there's some good things there's some good opportunities ahead as well for the union. So 2025 has been solid, and lots of opportunities for the future.
You mentioned there, Mark, a couple of times the changing demographics within our membership, and a kind of skew towards perhaps a younger demographic within membership. What does that mean for the trade union and the types of work, the types of things that we will get involved with on behalf of members?
Well, I think the most obvious thing I would say about how the union is shifting is in our communication strategy. I mean, young people are much more they're digital natives, I believe that the phrase is, and they are accessing the union online increasingly, and they want things like Nautilus TV. They want emails and digital social media, of course, is very, very important for us to keep abreast of that, what the latest developments are, and that requires us to shift our and direct our resources into that space. And whilst at the same time we need to, of course, be sensitive to members who wish to digest their content in the older ways, like the magazine. The Telegraph is still a crucial part of our communication strategy. Next year we'll be moving to 4 copies a year, There'll still be high quality, award-winning content, but it'll be 4 times a year. That reduces costs. We can then invest that money into more digital content, like our podcasts and the Nautilus TV and our social media output. So that's one way in which we respond to the changing demographics. I also think our work in diversity has been really, really important. Members will have noticed a shift. The membership is more diverse, and so what they see of us needs to reflect that. We're currently running elections for the council, and I can already see that the nominations that are coming forward reflect a much more diverse workforce, which is really pleasing to see. So that the organisation is shifting in obvious ways, but maybe in subtle ways as well, and I'm really pleased about that. That's really exciting.
Yeah, it does sound like some really exciting developments are starting to come through now. And you've mentioned some of that support that you've given to members, perhaps in a domestic way in terms of, support in the workplace and online as well. But we're not just national trade union, are we? We are an international trade union. We represent members no matter where they are, all over the world. What is some of the work that we have achieved on behalf of members globally this year?
So the work we've been carrying out for our members internationally and globally, because as you've said, it's a global industry. Wherever members are, we want to be there supporting them. And I suppose the best way to highlight our international work is in 2 ways. Firstly, we're very engaged with the International Transport Workers Federation, and in Europe, the European Transport Workers Federation. And then we also have our own network of like-minded, smaller, specialized maritime professionals unions under the auspices of the Nautilus Federation. So if I pick up that last point first, Nautilus Federation, we've been supporting and enhancing our criminalization support for members, and there was recent examples of incidents in European waters where members of other unions were interviewed by the authorities. The case of the 2 vessels that collided in the North Sea. Unfortunately, one seafarer was lost and assumed to have perished. And again, the MAAB and others were investigating that. We were able to support members of other unions in that way, and that's a really good example of how our network under the federation works. We've also been campaigning for NATO members to address the skills and flag decline in NATO membership. There's no way NATO can fulfill its Article 5 commitment without strong NATO mercantile marine and skills. So that was an important piece of work we did in 2025, and also our highlighting the recruitment and retention, because we know there is a recruitment and retention problem in the industry, and we need to do better. We need to improve the offer, particularly to young maritime professionals, potential maritime professionals. And there has been, decades of debate about what needs to be done. And we put out an important report which looked at all the available evidence and crystallized that in a hard-hitting report that's saying, let's stop talking about what needs to be done and actually do it. Let's get on with it. It's not difficult. You need to improve communications. You need to treat people with respect. We need to address long hours culture. We need more diversity. The workplace needs to be attractive to a more diverse workforce. We need to improve working conditions, of course, and wages as part of that. So we know what the answers are. And through the Federation, we've been putting that message out there consistently. Just transition, really important. At 2023, at the general meeting, the members adopted a campaign strategy to highlight the necessity of a just transition, to make sure that our members have the skills to deal with the environmental journey that we're all on. That's necessary for the industry to decarbonize and reduce its carbon footprint, achieve net zero. But we need the skills. So we need upskilling and reskilling so that all seafarers, if they want to continue working at sea, can do so without paying the cost of that, without their jobs becoming insecure. There's also a technological aspect to that as well. There's a lot of conversations about artificial intelligence and digitalization, and how that potentially introduces insecure jobs or threatens jobs. And we've been doing a lot of work in that space and supporting international campaigns to ensure that there is a just transition. So a lot going on in that space, Helen. I'm very proud of that work.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. So as we look ahead to 2026, what are some of your key messages to our members?
Well, I'd start by saying 2026 offers the ongoing risks and challenges that we've been analysing since the 2019 and onwards, when we developed our 2030 vision, which was about preparing the union for the future and being sustainable. Those risks that we face are demographic risks, the technological, the just transition issues that we've just spoke about. Those will carry on, and they will gather a pace as we transition into 2026 and head towards 2030. We've got all the strategies in place, and we're ready. So it's steady as we go, really, is what I'd say. Of course, one of the big issues that I face and the organisation faces as we head into 2026 is the transition to new leadership, because I'll be stepping down in April, and all that's in hand. And the council, I want to thank the council, if I may, using this interview to say that the council has ensured proper succession planning, so that the union, which has always been known for that stable, competent leadership. I only say that to emphasise that the transition to new leadership has been overseen by the council in that long tradition of trying to ensure stable, competent leadership. So for the members, they probably won't notice any difference. The union will continue to be active on their behalf and supporting them wherever they are in the way that they've got used to it. They deserve that, and they're absolutely entitled to demand that. And I'm very, very confident that as we move into 26 and beyond, that will be assured and guaranteed. So there's that obvious issue. The challenges we face in terms of growing the union, as I said, we've had a year of growth in the UK in particular, which is really, really encouraging. I think it's going to be helped by changes here in the UK in legislation as well. So it's worth just highlighting that the Employment Rights Bill that's currently making its way through Parliament and pinging and ponging between the Lords and the Commons, when that eventually reaches the statute books, that's going to give us new rights to access workplaces, so that we can actually deliver our strategy of growing in the shore-based maritime professional space as well. So really excited about that. And what's going on in Lloyd's Register is interesting in the Netherlands, because they are also looking at shore-based maritime professionals. And there is a demand there for the support and the services and benefits that trade union membership can bring to unorganized workforces. So that's a really, really exciting part of our work. And obviously, we need to continue to be there for members in the large yacht sector. We recovered over £2 million in unpaid wages. And it's still quite staggering that this is something we have to do to make sure that employers fulfil their contractual obligations to our members. We have to go after them, and we'll arrest ships if we need to make sure that seafarers, our members, are paid what they are due under their contracts. So that's another. It's a positive. It's a positive for membership of the union that we're there. We can provide legal services and support for members when they get into difficulty. But the overriding message for me is a positive message. You belong to a trade union because we are stronger together. That solidarity is really, really important.